2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Panther Nation, the C3 podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys.
My favorite night of the week.
We're gonna go out there and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win, because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to win.
This embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. And that's what we do. What I'm saying?
What is up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor. And I don't think you can hear. Can you hear my mics? I don't think you can. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. Let me see. Nope. Hold on here. I know there's a problem, and I'm going to find it. All right. Tony Dunn here. C3 Panthers podcast. If anybody could give me a thumbs up that you can hear my microphone right now, it would be amazing. Amazing. Because we've had to switch platforms at the last moment, back reverting to old school. And speaking about old school, Cody Lashney's old school C3 Panthers podcaster by this point.
I mean, hey man, I'm an OG. I'm coming up on my 1 year reunion on C3, baby. We're about to throw a party. Hope springs eternal. Draft time is upon us. The Hornets are trying to make it to the playoffs with 3 minutes left, and it's Tuesday night. And I don't love anything more than talking about the Panthers on Tuesday night with all my peeps in the chat room and my man Tony Dunn. I'm ready to roll, man. Let's do it.
It's episode 19.11, I believe. Tonight's show's titled Waiting for the Draft is Boring as AAF. And I am sad. I'm in mourning this week because the AAF is dead. It didn't even make it through a full season. It was derailed by Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, or at least there is some bitter infighting between Bill Polian and him. It seems that he swooped in, was the savior for a moment, but had ill intentions. And this just reminded me that waiting for the NFL is boring as fuck. Sorry for the language, folks. We need our football. We need our football, and the draft is approaching. We're going to be talking tonight the raid the Panthers made on AAF signings this week to round and pad out that roster. We're going to be previewing Andre Dillard and better get to know a potential Panthers draft pick. And we're going to be talking a little schedule here. Cody, each and every week we're here at Tuesday night. You know those YouTubers, they get crazy in the chat. It was lit before we even got started. Tell them what they need to do. Turn their phones to portrait and
Smash the like button. What are you doing? And gets us to more people on YouTube. Spread the C3 love we have, man. All of our diehards are in the chat. Susan Deans, 10 Days, the Underground West, Carlton Cohen, the C3 fam. You know, even though there's not a lot to talk about, when you have these awesome people in the chat, there's always good times to be had, man. Always.
All right, so we're on YouTube. Well, usually we're on Facebook and Periscope. Tonight we're just going to our bread and butter, YouTube. Hopefully Shindig will be back next week. If you're listening on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast, man, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. Share the link with a friend. Let us know you're listening to the show. Send us a message. Send us a message on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. And hey, Susan, she said, I still don't know how to turn my phone to portrait mode. Turn it the long way. Here, I'll show you. Landscape. I'm sorry. This is not me being a jerk either, by the way. Landscape, portrait. Landscape, portrait. They don't give you the thumbs up button when you're in landscape. Is that? I mean, that's the case for me on the Google Pixel.
I don't use YouTube on my phone a lot. I'm mainly on my desktop. I'm more Twitter on the phone, which I need to erase. It's taking up too much of my life.
It can, for someone like me who, I finally, the doctor gave me medicine for this crap. He told
Twitter?
me. No, yeah, pretty much.
Medicine for Twitter.
Medicine for Twitter. He said, so I was telling him, I was like, dude, I thought I had anxiety problems. I was like going crazy over this mess. And not like that bad, but I was like, dude, I'm stressed out as all get out. This is several years ago. And he was like, man, you don't really seem like stressed out dude to me as much as, and he started asking me a couple questions. And he said, do you ever turn around and go back home to check to see if you left the coffee pot on, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like twice a week, brother. I'm worried as shit about that all the time. Like, I can't burn down. And he said, oh, man. And so he asked me a couple of questions. He said, you don't got anxiety. Your problem is you're obsessive compulsive. And I was like, what? I was like, dude, look at my damn desk at work. I am not obsessive compulsive. If you look at my crazy ass desk, that is always like a shit storm of papers and books and all of this. He said, well,
you don't really need a doctor, man. You just need someone like me to tell you. You just have a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
That's all it is. There's only so much free space in the brain for you to manage everything going on.
You know what he told me, though? Is he said, you're not the compulsive part. You're just the obsessive part. Like you can't stop thinking about shit. And I'm like, yes. And that's why I like Twitter so much. You know what I do? Is I refresh Twitter like 800 times in a minute.
Same here.
Same here. You got something to say back? You want to say something back? You want to go? You want to go?
I get mad when I see old shit that I've seen before. I'm like, come on.
Refresh.
I know I have a million different new tweets, and you're showing me this old shit? Come on.
Yeah. I'm like, I better have 72 likes on this tweet. You better.
Yeah.
What do you guys say? You want to fight? You want to fight over Cam Newton? You want to fight? Fight. That's how I feel. And by the way, I've got some Cam Newton people I've been fighting with, some stupid asses. And I'm not even going to bring them up on the show. Cam Newton, I'm going to tell you this for all you jerks up there who like to say, hey, Cam Newton's the problem. He's all about himself. Boy, when we don't have Cam Newton, you're going to be crying. The day that we don't have Cam Newton, unless by God somehow we replace him with the best quarterback in the history of football, you're going to be some sad bitches. You're going to be some sad mofos.
Which, by the way, a shameless plug into our better know potential Panthers draft pick later. We're choosing to cherish him while we have him by investing in some protection. And I'll bury the lead a little bit for later. I think the guy that we're previewing tonight, if I'm a betting man right now, I'm saying this guy is probably who the Panthers are going to take at number 16. Based off of reports I've seen from the Panthers and people that follow the visits and everything, pay attention to who we have later because it's an important one.
All right, so I think that we should start the show off by talking about the schedule. The preseason schedule, which is crap. I saw something like I saw some teasers like this had to do with the schedule, but it really doesn't. The NFL has tried to tease us. They've teased us with announcing 4 games where we knew 2 of them already. So they told us 2 games that we didn't know. We knew that we always know we're playing Pittsburgh in week 4. It always feels like we play the Patriots in week 3.
Yeah.
And this year we're going to be starting off at Chicago and then actually playing ourselves at home, the Buffalo Panthers.
Keep rumbling.
Keep rumbling. Yeah.
Keep rumbling.
So the preseason
even
schedule is out.
Even the Bills, I feel that we played them the last, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah. When I looked at this schedule, I felt like, what? Wait a minute. I've seen this before.
Remember Cam Newton damn near got into a fight with Kelvin Benjamin last year.
That's right. That's right. Well, he actually schooled him. Oh. Kelvin Benjamin, what do you think he's doing right now?
Sitting on his ass, praying someone pays him $1.298 to come haul his fat ass upfield and drop passes.
You know, Kelvin Benjamin wishes he played offensive line because Matt Khalil's raking in the damn dough. And fat ass Kelvin Benjamin, who's just as sorry. You know, 2 sorry asses, one making a bunch of money and the other one is like, damn it. Why couldn't I be that? He tried to become an offensive lineman. Nah, that's the joke. Everybody said he
needs to be a professional.
You know, is that I think that it turns out that Kelvin Benjamin was soft. That's what I think.
Well,
I think he's soft, like a pillow.
Is when you blame other people for your lack of success, it says more about you than it does the players that you're playing with. You know, don't blame other people. You know, Cam Newton was the quarterback that made Greg Olsen the first tight end in history with 3 seasons back to back to back of 1,000 receiving yards. All right, you don't do that if you're a bad passer. So, hey, man.
All right, so what else about the schedule? Look, is that we know that when the preseason comes around, that week 3 is the week that you play the most generally of your starters. What we generally see is that a team will play its starters through the first half guaranteed. Last year they played them a little bit longer than we expected through the third quarter, I think at some point. But you know, usually these game 1 and 4 specifically are are really tryouts for the 3rd and 4th stringers. Week 2, I feel like, is a tryout for the guys that are on the 2nd string and the line between 2nd and 3rd. You know, I think, Cody, when it comes to the preseason, the question continues to be, first of all, is it necessary to have 4 preseason games when you don't play your starters and you know most of them?
Well, this is what's interesting because the CBA is coming up in around 2 years, and I'm hearing that the NFL might push for 2 more games during the season, but as an aside, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
A concession.
A concession. They're going to eliminate 2 preseason games, which I don't mind that at all. I mean, how disappointing is it when you have a player that goes down before the season starts in preseason? And I mean, that can happen to anyone, but yeah, I mean, I feel it's 4 is probably too many. You know, do a tryout, then a dress rehearsal, and let's play football. That's what I think.
Well, I tell you this, though, is that what would be disingenuous of the NFL is to say because we're extending the season 2 games, we're going to cut 2 games off the preseason. Like, your starters don't play in the preseason.
Yeah, for the most part.
You would just be adding a ton of reps to guys where the season's already long. I think another thing, too, to think about here is, for me, is maybe what the idea is to just insert another bye into the season. You know, why don't we just trim off a preseason game, maybe trim it to 3? And my buddy Clip Brock from Pirate Radio, he's always said this, is that another bye, if you really are interested in player safety and their health and not overworking them, is you put another bye into the season, and what you then do is, first of all, you get rid of that week where there's like 12 games at 1:00, and you're like, oh my god, you'll check your fantasy lineup and like everybody has played in the whole league. I think it would give you some ability to probably help the Thursday night. We know that the Thursday night game has been problematic for teams. Look at the Panthers. Panthers play the Steelers Thursday night in the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the game that began the end of our season. You know, the Panthers are 6-2, maybe at that point, or 5-1, or whatever it was.
6-2, and that was when the tires came crashing off.
My man Black, who is my man? I hate that dude. Whoever he is, his brother is better, and JJ Watt's other person, TJ.
Oh yeah, TJ.
TJ.
Cam Newton in the shoulder.
Blast Cam Newton's shoulder. It starts the end. Everything went bad that game. I don't think there was a single bright spot. I mean, we had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. They did, or something, pick 6, like off the bat. It was terrible. But everybody said this: the Panthers were terrible in that game because short rest. You know what I'm saying? Is that they're coming off a short week and bad rehab, bad time when it comes to game planning, travel time. If you throw in an extra bye, maybe. I don't know how the schematics would work, but I think you could make the Thursday game feasible. And we also got to start thinking about what happens if you expand to London one day. The hardest part of expanding outside the United States, particularly across the pond, is going to be scheduling.
Do you mean if you added a team in London? I don't know how they would ever do that. Apparently
they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
How are they going to do that? How are they going to have a team fly to London every other Sunday? I mean, the jet lag.
They're not. They're going to have this. They're going to have to do this. They're going to have to put the London team will always have a 2 or 3 game road stretch. Right? It's like when they come here and they play here. Like they don't come and play a game and then go back home. They're going to have to hook them up with a bye after that so they can get home. And then they're going to play a 3 or 4 game home stretch.
Right, but then every team that goes to London to play them is going to be at a disadvantage because the London team, they've been at home practicing in their own facilities and everything.
They're going to have to use buys to help that.
But how many buys are you going to? I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that a team would always be coming off a bye and playing in London. So any team that was, so you had 3 games in a row in London at Wembley. So say that was the Panthers. They played the Panthers, the Redskins, and the Vikings. And say week 6, 7, and 8, the Panthers would have to have a week 5 bye and go to London. And then they would probably need to play a Monday night game the next week.
But you see how much that is? It just seems like, man, that would be so much to put into the schedule and have to make sure every team has a bye beforehand. I don't know, man. It's definitely a lot.
That is the monkey wrench in extending a actual franchise to London is the scheduling difficulties. And then what kind of division do you put them in?
Yeah. And you have to add 2 teams.
Well, you got to do like they did to the Panthers. You know, when the Panthers came into the league, they were in the NFC West.
Yeah.
So that's what I say is that if we bring a team in London, we got to put them in the NFC West just to be jerks about it. So they got to play Seattle, Arizona, San Francisco. Jerks. No.
I'm not mad at it.
Okay.
I'm not mad.
All right. So that is any other thoughts on the preseason schedule? Oh, I got another thing, another grind my gears about the preseason.
Oh, Lord. All right.
Is the jerks, they charge money to the season ticket holders for these joke-ass games. They should be a discount at the very least. They should be optional, I think, to season ticket holders. And if anything, I think you should just make them all public offerings, like $5. Make it like FanFest, because it's all a joke anyway. I don't like the idea that you're charging face value for a preseason. Like, how is week 7 and week 1 of the week 7 of the regular season and week 1 of the preseason equal?
No, it isn't. It's just another way to make more money. Yeah, personally, I don't know. I mean, if you have no other opportunities to see the Panthers, then I understand spending the money to go and see it. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I did have a question for you though. You know, the Patriots and the Steelers are kind of seen as blue blood franchises, these upper echelon teams in the NFL. Do you think that says a lot about us as an organization, that they basically want to play Carolina every preseason? You know, does that say anything about who the Panthers are as a franchise? I was thinking about that.
I don't know. I think one is 2 of them are AFC teams. That's what I think. First of all, East Coast AFC teams.
Yeah, 2 of the best.
Yeah, I and some people have pointed to the relationship between former owner Jerry Richardson and the Steelers. That relationship is continued with David Tepper. It seems like we always play the Steelers in week 4.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Is it like, and I would be interested to see, how do they determine these things? You know, what is the determinant? If we always, I do think there is some value of not playing the NFC in the preseason. Like, you don't get any extra looks at your real competition. Yeah. I almost think that, in fact, do we play only AFC? Who is it? Chicago. We only play one NFC team. I think you should almost play only teams from the other conference.
But does it really even matter that much, though? I mean, we might not play. Well, I think that we do play the Bears. No, Bears were in the one spot.
We might not play them, but they are. I mean, the potential is there in the playoffs. Not that really matters. Yeah, you're right. Does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, there are some teams in the NFC that we might never play. I mean, if they're not on the schedule, you know, by the time you reach the playoffs, then, you know, the roster might be 100%, and not 100%, but different players on IR, a whole bunch of different factors. So I don't know that it matters too much. I just found it interesting that these well-established franchises prefer to play the Panthers every offseason. I mean, we've done it with Pittsburgh now. We've done it with the Steelers. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. It's just kind of prestigious almost.
Maybe. I don't know. Is that, it's a good company to keep, number one. I think this is that we got to minimize. I think I'm more interested in minimizing the preseason. If I was going to make some changes to the NFL, what we saw is at the least trim the preseason down to 3 games. Here are my suggestions. Trim the preseason down 1 game minimum, maybe 2. Add an extra bye. And I think we need to expand rosters. And what I mean by that, and I mean it's really self-explanatory, is that teams need to be able to carry more than 53 guys. I say you carry 63 guys. Something like this is because injury creates such a problem for teams. So why don't you just have a little bit larger of a team where you could maybe have more rotation naturally involved, and you don't have to have this weird where, you cut a lot of good players. When you get down to the end of training camp and you got to go from 75 or 90 to 53, I think now they just go straight from 90 to 53. There's some guys there between 53 and 60 that can contribute to some teams, and that would be very helpful and maybe wouldn't force you to play players when they're hurt a little bit as much. So I think that would help just a little bit, is expand the roster by 10 spots.
Well, also, remember, it is still a business. And if you're adding 10 extra players on top of the IR or whatever, I forget what it's called at the moment, but your extra, your practice squad, that's another 10 players you're paying the league minimum of $200,000 or whatever.
But they can only be on a practice squad for so long. They have to have not played so many games. There's a lot of stipulations there too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, I don't know. It was, I do think that the preseason in the next few years will probably be very different. I'm telling you, man, that CBA coming up in 2 years has the potential to change a lot of things in the NFL with the way a lot of things are done. So it'll definitely be something interesting to keep track of, for sure.
So Lynn says, absolutely agree with those recommendations, Tony. Thank you, Lynn. I love when people agree with me. And Tin Tizzy says, Tony, we're on to something here. And Susan Dean, who I know is triple ticket holder. She owns 3 season tickets, and I know she's going to be kind enough to take me to a game this year. Guilt. Nah, she's offered it to me, and I hate to take advantage of it, but I will. No, she says I think the preseason should be free. Personally, what I would say is that even if it isn't free, I don't think it should be obligatory for season ticket holders to pay for it. Just because you're a season ticket holder doesn't mean you want to go see trash football.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm on your side, man.
You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. Tuesday nights, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. We appreciate all your support. Continue to support us by being a participant in the show, by participating in the chat room, calling into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. We'll play your calls later this evening. I only got one call tonight so far, so I told you that it is boring as AAF waiting for the NFL draft. Let's talk about this. As the Panthers made some signings this week. In fact, speaking of the AAF, the Panthers have raided, as some people have described it. In fact, it's so far down on the list now. The Panthers they signed this guy right here. I just put him up on the image. You can't see it, Cody, but the rest of everybody can. We signed Kit O'Brien, guard. We signed Parker Collins. So Kit O'Brien, this is just the story from Panthers.com. Center Parker Collins and guard Kit O'Brien signed 1-year contracts with the Carolina Panthers 3 days after the AAF suspended operations near the end of its first season. Collins is an Appalachian State product, and I believe the Kit O'Brien says spent parts of 2015 and 2016 on the Colts practice squad, and he was a starter for Ball State. We also got some other dudes. I think we've gotten 5. And another one is Rashid. Well, what's his name? Rashad. Should know it. He was an awesome player when it came to.
Yeah, Rashad Ross.
Rashad Ross, who played a little time when it comes to. He played with the Washington Redskins. So here, the AAF has folded. Less than one season in, we were all stoked about it. Not you, but I was. We made a huge deal about this in the damn season. They couldn't even make it through a damn one season. But a lot of guys are there. You know, there is some rating of these AAF players. Rashad Ross, Kit O'Brien, just to name a couple of people. And then I got another one, and his name was, and I thought I got the image up, but
Destiny Veo.
And then one other I saw today. This is my favorite. I got to put it up. Let me see. You go ahead. How about this? You tell me what you think about these signings so far, and I'll pull this image up because it deserves to be put up.
Well, first off, and you know, everyone be honest. Did anyone really love the AAF? Like, did anyone feel this is about to be the next?
Me.
I never felt it, man.
It was a developmental league.
And I know it was, but dude, I always found myself forgetting when it would come on. And just when I was watching it, just kind of, I had the feeling of, nah, man, these are players that couldn't make it in the NFL. And I don't know, it didn't feel the same to me. So I never got into it that much. But that said, you know, one of the things that you do after the draft is you sign undrafted free agents. And I wonder if this is an attempt to kind of mitigate that. Maybe if there are players that we're interested in, but they have better offers somewhere else, they go somewhere else. Maybe this just assures that we have better depth at different positions. Defensive line, offensive line. I hope that none of these guys are ever starters.
Oh, shush. Look, these are Andrew Norwells. These are Andrew Norwells, right? Yes, they're undrafted guys that went to either small schools, haven't gotten the playing time, or ultimately need reps. And this is why I think the AAF could have been a fantastic. And actually, I think this is the NFL should just start their own developmental league. And it should not be entirely about making revenue. Is that there are a lot of good players in the world, or guys that are on the cusp of being pretty good, that could be NFL players, but they need more development.
But some of these dudes have been bouncing around the NFL for like 3 or 4 years.
Well, here's the thing, Cody, though, is that when you bounce around from the NFL for 3 or 4 years and you're an undrafted player, you really have zero chance to make it. Think about all the guys that we cheer for on the Panthers who are late round draft picks or undrafted free agents, or these guys. They have like one chance to make a name for themselves. And if they're lucky, so they'll get a couple of reps in practice, one bad play, and it's like, oh, he can't catch. One drop, done. Limited reps. Then say they're lucky enough to get into a real game. If they don't have enough time to show a team, because I promise you this, Cody, is that we're going to put 90 guys on a roster. We're going to cut it down to 53, and we really are at 64 guys that we know could be on this team. 25 of them, they don't care about, it doesn't matter what they do. in practice. It doesn't matter what they do in training camp. They're not going to be able to supersede a draft pick. My belief is that there are guys, is that they just, and if you go to a training camp, Cody, this is what they do. Their practice is the most ridiculous thing. It's not practice. They run a play once, and they're like, you guys got it? Okay, next play. It is not like what we think about practice where you do something over and over.
But
and you
that's
go,
kind of my point, though. That out of the 5 dudes that we signed, how many of them do you think make the 53-man roster?
none.
I bet
One.
Maybe one of them.
Well, that's fine.
Maybe
That's
one
fine,
of them.
but you shouldn't say that you hope. Well,
I'm not saying I hope. I'm saying the chances of any of these dudes being someone that comes in and helps us compete during the season is effectively nil. It's like none. It's warm bodies. They're meant to be depth on the practice squad. I mean, it's due diligence, man.
what about this guy, TJ Barnes, defensive tackle they signed? He's automatically become a fan favorite because of his first post as a Carolina Panthers fan is this. I am better than hims. Had to leave my mind so I could focus me. God sat me for a year and a half until I became grateful. I wear my Stanley Steamer gear as a reminder of where I was and how hard I'll work to get back to where I want to be. My man signed his 1-year contract wearing his Stanley Steamer shirt. Thank you, Panthers. He's automatically a fan favorite. I'm rooting for TJ Barnes to make this team. This is the Kurt Warner bagging groceries to go onto the Hall of Fame story right here.
Hey man, we're gonna steam clean them fools on the field.
That's
baby.
right. He steam clean those sinners.
Yeah, baby. Hey man, look, I'm pulling for him. I'm not an old curmudgeon. I promise, Lynn. I'm not an old man. I'm pulling for him. I'm just being a realist. None of these dudes are probably gonna make the 53-man roster, and there's probably a reason for that. There's a reason why they bump around. The NFL is a tough business, man. Only the best of the best play, and the fact that they were signed means they have some talent. But hey, maybe I'm Scrooge McDuck.
All right. So 2 things stand out to me though, Cody, about these AAF signings. And that is, number 1, I think that somebody said there's been 6 of them in the chat room. I also saw earlier in the chat room someone mentioned that there was a tight end involved. I haven't seen those.
Yeah, Duarte.
Okay, so tight end. Oh yeah, Thomas. Oh, I just saw it now as I pick up this. But guess where? Like 60 to 70% of these, or 80% of these signings were
Where?
bodies on the offensive and defensive line. A lot of offensive linemen. And that is what we are doing is we are trying to build a stable. Yep. These are buttresses in the wall that we are building around Cam Newton.
Yeah, man, trenches is where you win the football game. And it does hearten me a little bit that Marty Herney and the front office does know that that's where we need to continue to build up these players. So I'm happy for that. I'm happy that they're still trying to improve the roster even at a time like this. I'm pulling for him. The only player I know is the Rashad Ross, or what's his name? Rashad Ross. I've seen some plays that he made in the AAF, and hey man, he's not a bad player. I mean, in my mind, this is another Kenyon Warner. For a few snaps during the season.
All right, so this is how I was feeling too. Is that first I jumped on the AAF. I was excited about it because I manufactured my excitement. I wanted to be into it. Now they ripped my heart out, but I watched Rashad Ross and he was great. He was a step ahead of the whole league at that point. Yeah. But here's the thing: is he's another 6-foot receiver that kind of duplicates the talent of a DJ Moore, of a Curtis Samuel in some ways that I was thinking, maybe even a Jarris Wright as well. And so when I saw that we signed this guy, I said, hey, I think he could be a good player. I think he could go into the NFL and be productive. But I don't know if that's exactly what we needed. And then someone on Twitter, which I wish I should have noted their name. They deserved it. And I would point out, too, I think it may have been a female, too. And not that I'm calling out females in a bad way. I think that a lot of females should get a lot more credit for how sports savvy they are. Right? Is that some of the smartest sports people I know are women. And the point that they said was this is, hey, we could use a return guy.
It's funny to hear a female talk about return guys.
I am roused. But if you think about it, and as I was like, and I was like, how did I not think about that? Is that right now we have not signed Damiere Byrd back? Is that it doesn't look like we will be? Is Damiere Byrd is done right now? He's been, he might be my guy, but he's been hurt a lot. We don't have a Kenyon Barner. We don't need to put DJ Moore or Curtis Samuel back there. It's just stupid to do that. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want Samuel back there. I don't want McCaffrey back there. The punishment that you take returning a punt or a kickoff, yeah, it's brutal, man. And I'm 100% with you on that one.
Tim Tizzy says Bird is in Arizona. No! Yeah, no! I love it. Man. I didn't even know this, I don't know. Man. I don't know. I'll cry myself to sleep.
He was hurt all the time, man. If you're not hurt, you ain't doing shit for us.
Oh, shit, man. I tell you this, I was at the game where he had 2 damn touchdowns, a kick return, a butt touchdown. Baby Bird. I almost got kicked out of that game for flapping on some Green Bay. It was against Green Bay. My man's been on the C3 podcast twice. How can you not love Baby Bird?
I hear you, man. It's just
Lynn says slow on the news there, Tony. When did anybody?
Yeah, when did this happen?
Really?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I am embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. The Burrs Dunfloor Southwest. That's what Josh said.
That's funny. Yeah, it's true though. I mean, hey man, he'll never be healthy, and I hate that for him. He has a ton of talent.
He's got little bones. He's got little bird bones.
Yeah, and I remember him when he played at South Carolina. Even when he played at South Carolina, he was hurt all the time. If you're hurt in college, you're hurt in the NFL. That's my mantra of player health. So I wish him the best, but I don't see what he'll do too much more.
All right, you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinion from the fan perspective. Go ahead and subscribe, share the show, be a part of it by calling in the Cat Calls line, 252-228-5098. All right, Cody, let's do this. Let's jump to better get to know a potential Panthers draft pick. I'm about to hit play on the video. You can't see it, but here it goes. 1, 2, 3. Who's our guy?
Tonight we're talking about Andre Dillard. And to everyone in the chat room, I genuinely believe that right now, if Andre Dillard is available over everyone else, he will be the pick for the Panthers. And as the NFL is moving towards an era of throwing the football, quarterbacks throwing for 300 yards of football game, you need an NFL offensive line that pass protects. Andre Dillard represents this. He is by far the best pass protecting left tackle in the draft this year. He anchors well. And let me tell you, I do not remember in my short years of looking at prospects, I cannot remember a player this fast and athletic playing left tackle. And imagine a left tackle who can move around the edge, keep his quarterback clean from the left side, and put people in the dirt like that. Andre Dillard is a beast. He wasn't asked to run block a whole lot up in West Virginia, but someone that fast and athletic, I'm not worried about them. They're going to be able to pull and do everything that they need to be able to do on the next level. He has a powerful anchor. The bull rush doesn't push him off the line. He's an all-around left tackle. He does everything that you want, and he would instantly have the most potential out of any left tackle that Cam Newton has ever played with. Ever. And I know Jordan Gross was awesome, but Andre Dillard is a man amongst boys. I don't know what else to say about him. The Panthers have shown a lot of interest in him. The general manager, Marty Herney, has been up there. We're showing a lot of interest in him. He's been one of our 30 visits. So we've had him down here. He's met with the offensive staff. The Panthers love him. And as of right now, I genuinely feel that even if a few other players are on the board, Andre Dillard will probably end up being the player that the Panthers draft at 16. Now, this might change, but if I'm a betting man right now, I'm putting my money on Andre Dillard.
Right now, the chat room believes that Andre Dillard will be a goner before the 16th.
I don't think so. I disagree. I don't think so. All right,
tell us why. Because they say he's long gone.
There are so many defensive players that are going to go in the first round, and I'm telling you, a lot of these quarterbacks are going to be overdrafted. Drew Lock, not necessarily someone that I would spend a top 15 pick on, will probably be the second quarterback taken in the draft. People are going to trade up for pass rushers. People are going to overvalue people like, Rashawn Gary out of Michigan, who I do not have a first-round grade on, but he's probably going to be drafted top 10. A lot of these players.
What did you say? Is that Gary?
Yeah.
Tell me this. Why do you guys not like him? I like him.
He didn't do anything. He was the best player on the defensive line and 3.5 sacks. He doesn't have bend around the edge. He's not a real disruptive player. You're drafting a player for their athleticism and almost nothing else.
I think that he is a really good I think he's a good defensive end when it comes against the run. I think he sets the edge great. That's what I saw that I liked a lot.
Yeah, that's all.
That I think could translate a lot to the NFL. I just think that could translate to a lot to the NFL is that we get a little too enamored by guys going full speed off the side. But we know is that you can negate a pass rush when it comes to the NFL by running at them. So that's the one thing I like about when I looked at Gary, and I just looked at his highlights. All I did is, so I don't know enough, right? I'm not trying to say, is that I just felt like, hey, this guy knew how to drop back and keep going into plays when they seemingly were over already, and I like that trait.
Well, listen, let me say this too. I see Lane saying we might have to move up. Josh thinks that the left tackles aren't going to be there. I'm also saying this knowing that Jonah Williams from Alabama, who we've previewed on this show, and the right tackle from Florida, Jawan Taylor, are probably rated higher than Andre Dillard. So they're probably maybe in that 7 to 13 range. So when I say that Dillard might be there, I genuinely think that Dillard is probably the third left tackle or tackle prospect on the board. But that doesn't mean that Andre Dillard is bad or not comparable. Like I said, he is the best pass protecting tackle in the draft. It's just the other two players are more well-rounded, and they've done they've had better reps against better competition, but none of them have the athletic profile that Dillard do.
Panthers guide FSU 23 is on board with you, or at least in agreement. He says this: too many good defensive players for the left tackles to be gone before 16.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm telling you that they're gonna fly, man. And the tight ends and the linebackers. I mean, we're in a position to pick up a day one starter because a lot of the better players are going to fall down the board to us.
Let me ask you this as we're going to go over Charlie Casserole, his mock draft. And the reason I call him Casserole is because this asshole hates Cam Newton. He also is a former G. And this is what I got to say is that I've been trying to tell people, if you listen to Pirate Radio, and I know that Susan Deans does, is that I've always said on Pirate Radio, one of the things that I'm learning as I get older in life is that we trust people in leadership roles. We trust that they're qualified or that they're that much better than us at whatever they do. You know what I'm saying? Like a politician must know foreign policy better than us. A GM must understand how these things. It's just simply not true. As I learn and as I get older and older, is that what I realize is that there's just as many incompetent people in leadership roles as there are in non-leadership roles. Charlie Casserelli, or as I call him, Charlie Casserole, is the same guy that trumpeted that the Panthers should take Blaine Gabbert, or as I like to call him, Blaine Babbert, over Cam Newton. He also said that the Duke quarterback is the most polished quarterback for the NFL, the most pro-ready. Anytime I hear a guy that says the most pro-ready, I don't know, I continue to think about Mel Kiper when he said we had to pick, what was that guy that looked like the blonde, he was from Notre Dame, not too long ago, right before Cam. What was his name? Gosh.
The
starts with a C. Yeah, starts with a C, I think. Clausen. That's right. All right. So is because Charlie Casserole.
Ron Fox didn't even know they were drafting Clausen, by the way.
Because Charlie Casserole is saying this, I automatically don't agree with it. But here, I'm going to read off his top picks all the way to 16. But he actually proposes the Panthers trade to 8. All right, here they go. Number 1, Kyler Murray. Number 2, Nick Bosa to San Francisco. Number 3, Josh Allen to the Jets, edge rusher. Number 4, Rashawn Gary, edge rusher. So that puts us 3 defensive players in a row. Make it pick number 5, Devin White, linebacker to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be some shit if they draft a linebacker in the top 10.
I mean, it's the worst kept secret that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers love him. I mean, they
need to just draft defensive linemen, though.
I know, but they're in love with them.
New York Giants, Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle.
There is no way he falls that far, dude. He's the best player in the draft, dude. They're literally comparing him to Aaron Donald. He's the number 1 on my big board, man. He would eat up double teams.
So who's going to pick him, then? Who's going to pick him? San Francisco can't pick them, can they? Didn't they just draft defensive tackles like for the last 2 years? Solomon Thomas being one of them?
but no, there's no comparison. Solomon Thomas doesn't sniff the jock strap.
Oh no! Whoa! Solomon Thomas is like a top 5 pick, dude.
I could not care less. Bet the farm, bet the house, bet everything on Quentin Williams. He is a man amongst boys.
Where did you go to school at?
Alabama.
Okay.
He's the number 1 player on my board. He's a bigger, more athletic Aaron Donald, if I'm making a comparison right now. I mean, he eats up double teams for breakfast. The man is incredible.
Aaron Donald is the best player in the NFL, by the way.
Yeah, maybe so, man.
I believe this is he is like Luke Kuechly, but at a position that can disrupt even more.
And by the way,
Adam Martin says Solomon Thomas is a bust.
No, and I read that. I want to point this out. I don't dislike Solomon Thomas. I think San Francisco has been playing him in the wrong position. He's a 3 tech, and that's where you need to play him, and that's where they should have been.
What is he playing now?
Well, they had him at defensive end, and that's just not the position for him. So yeah, has the potential to be a good player, but he ain't no Quentin Williams, brother. That's a promise.
All right, hold on to that bus talk. I want to do something a little later in the show. We're move things along, but still, we got surprisingly, when we think we have nothing to talk about, we got a ton to talk about. All right, here it comes. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers trade up. Charlie Casserole says we get Montez Sweat at number 8. Would you be that upset?
Yeah.
Oh, he said, yeah. I would be upset. Why?
Listen,
it's going to cost a fucking fortune to move up.
Yeah, so that's number 1. Okay, why move up for a player that he might just be available at 16?
How? How is he not a top 10 pick after he ran a wide receiver 40?
Okay, and that's my point. I'm going to come off snooty as hell here, coming across as the dude that watches film. But here we go. I'm going to tell you why. Most people see the combine and they watch the highlights and they see the athletic profile and they go, oh, damn, Montez Sweat is the shit. Can't miss prospect. But when I look at the film, and by the way, I would love for us to take him if he's available at 16. But you don't trade up for a player that when he doesn't win on his initial bull rush or his initial stab, he has a tendency to hang up and not know what to do afterwards. He doesn't have a backup plan. That's something that you have to develop. So if you're moving into the top 10 for that kind of a player,
you got to move into the top 5 and get clowny.
I'm not sure. I mean, listen.
Let me ask. I got a question for you.
Is not Nick Bosa.
First of all, Nick Bosa's testing scores weren't that great, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, man.
Okay, no. So you're saying that doesn't matter, but then when we say sweats make him matter so much, that is a paradox a little bit, right? Because we're like saying this is that Bosa is good because we look at his tape, his film, his family, whatever the hell you are basing your thing on. But you didn't think this way about Sweat before the combine. Right?
No.
And then all of a sudden so what I'm saying is that we are able to say that the measurables aren't the determinant for Bosa. But then when we move to Sweat, we're like, the measurables have to be the determinant, which is kind of a paradox. And I would add this to it. Why then is Sweat a lower draft pick than Gary?
Why is he a lower draft pick?
Or a higher, whatever the right terminology is. Is that if we're so in love, why is Rashawn Gary listed higher than Sweat, even though you look at production, right? And Gary didn't have it, like you said. And then you look at the numbers. I feel like Sweat should be 4 to the Raiders then, if it's that much.
But see, here's the deal, though. Let me put this into context. I am a film over everything type of player. I don't care what you do at the combine if you check every box that I'm looking for on film. As a rookie at Ohio State, Nick Bosa had more pressures than Cleveland Farrell, Montez Sweat, and Brian Burns this year. Than either of those players this year. Nick Bosa did that as a freshman. So even though Bosa, his athletic profile, doesn't jump off the charts number-wise, I've seen the man whoop ass on a consistent basis. Now, Rashawn is a player that all these NFL coaches and GMs, they see this incredible mold, this dynamic, powerful young man, and they go, you know what? I know that this staff can turn that man into the dominant player that is dormant from inside him.
Why don't they say that about Sweat, though, more than him after they see that?
Well, a lot of people do. And that's why you have seen some of the top 10 the top 10 drafts from Montez Sweat. And he might very, very well.
Have you seen any drafts where he goes before Gary, though?
Oh yeah, I've seen a few.
Okay.
People are either in love with the idea of what Rashawn might be, or they're like, no, the production wasn't there the entire time, and he was the best defensive lineman.
What about this? If you only had two choices, Gary or Sweat, what would you take?
Sweat, all day.
Okay.
All day. And another thing that you aren't hearing about Rashawn is that's another player that they don't really know what he is. Is he a defensive tackle or is he a defensive end? Because he played a lot of both of them. So he does a little bit of all, but he's a master of none. So, yeah, I know if I draft Montez Sweat, he is a day one defensive end he'll be rough around the edges. You have to polish him up.
Well, he should be fast around the edges, really.
Yeah.
Hey, zing, zing. Listen to this. Tin Tizzy said this, not me. 34 people watching and only 14 thumbs up.
I see 39.
Dang. Now we got 39 people watching. Here's the thing. Is Susan learned how to turn her phone to portrait mode? Why don't y'all jokers turn your phone to portrait mode and smash the thumbs up button? And why don't you draft? I want to ask this question to the chat room. If you had your choice between Sweat and Gary, who do you go? That's my question to the chat room. I'm interested in this because for me, this is, and I don't like Charlie Casserole. I told you this. Somehow the Giants pick Dwayne Haskins at 13, Ed Oliver 14 to the Falcons. I would hate that.
Oh, I would hate that too. And that's another conversation that we should have too.
All right, tell me about it. Tell me what you think. Right now, everybody's saying Sweat. And 1, 2, 3, right away, everybody says Sweat. Nobody cares about Gary.
Yeah, and see, okay, now
4, Adam Martin.
Yeah, so you would Gary
just because he wanted to be different. Everybody.
Damn you, Josh. All right, so listen, if you looked at Ed Oliver's production, you might say that I'm a hypocrite because he didn't have a lot of production either. So
hypocrite.
So you might say, Cody, you're not high on Rashawn Gary, and he didn't put up any stats, but yet you're so high on Ed Oliver, and he didn't do anything either. Yeah, because they were playing Rashawn or Oliver out of position. They were playing him at nose tackle. Okay, and he would still make it into the backfield. Okay, Ed Oliver, they were putting him on the center and a guard at the same time. He had a double team in his face all the time. If you put him at a 3-tech in the NFL, man, Ed Oliver will ruin your day. That is a promise, man. Ed Oliver has one of the craziest athletic profiles I've ever seen from a defensive tackle. The man is insane. I'd love to have him too. That would be a player that if we drafted him, I'm not mad at that, man, at all.
All right. So far we have talked how how waiting for the draft is boring as AAF. We've talked the schedule. We talked about some new signings. We talked about Dillard, right? We've done Dillard.
Andre Dillard, yeah.
We've done now Casserole's stupid draft, which I can promise you this. If you want to know what's not going to happen, look at Charlie Casserole's draft. Blaine Gabbert, folks. He said he would take Blaine Gabbert 9 out of 10 times, or 10 out of 10 times over Cam Newton. You suck a big old you-know-what, sir, for saying that. I was going to say this, is I'm trying to think. When I look at what Cam Newton means for this franchise, Cody, is that we've heard some stories. Actually, let's turn the tide a little bit. We're going to impromptu talk about Aaron Rodgers.
All right.
So some stories have come out that Aaron Rodgers is a jerk. Those stories have existed for a long time, saying that he's a jerk, this and that. He places the blame on other players. He doesn't take it for himself, that type of things. And well, now there's been a story that was released, I think, by Bleacher Report. And while I know we want to make fun of Bleacher Report, now they advertise. I like this. Bleacher Report advertises on ESPN. On ESPN, they're reading Bleacher Report ads on their top shows. So, Bleacher Report is an entity that we do have to talk about. So, this guy writes this story and is talking about basically that Aaron Rodgers didn't think highly of Mike McCarthy and is a super jerk. And Mike McCarthy was checked out as a head coach. So, you hear, as we are Panther fans and we listen to this conversation, we automatically go, Jesus Christ. You guys talk all this shit about Cam Newton, and for years you walk on water when it comes to guys like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, and they're jerks. And Cam Newton isn't even a jerk, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? He's none of those things that these guys are. Ultimately, when you hear this news, where do you sit? For me, I'm sitting here going, the hypocrisy. It's just, it comes back to this. It's like, I'm Cam Newton, ride or die, baby.
Oh, listen, no, you and I don't have to prove how ride or die we are for number one.
That's the damn truth. That is the damn truth.
I mean, hell, people on Twitter say that we don't know how to criticize Cam Newton.
No, okay? We don't. You're right.
I know, but look, I don't give a shit. I'm a Cam Newton super fan, okay?
That's right.
The whole reason that I got back into football after not caring about football at all for like a stretch of my life, all right? Cam Newton is the reason I am in front of 40 people watching this show right now. Okay, I love Cam Newton. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, I do have to be a little bit fair and say this. Aaron Rodgers has been a tremendous football talent. And I can only imagine, when you're having to put the show on your back and make things work time after time, and you have this coach that's over there calling plays that you've barely even practiced. I don't know, man. I don't necessarily look at Aaron Rodgers as badly as I say, or as I do say Ben Roethlisberger, after he does nothing but throw his teammates under the bus year after year after year after year. I mean, is Aaron Rodgers a diva? Yeah, probably. But do I think that he's this insufferable player that's so hard to work with? No. And I kind of think Mike McCarthy is a dunce. Would you have been happy if we fired Ron Rivera and hired Mike McCarthy as our coach?
All right, first of all, shout out to Susan Deans. Thank you for supporting the C3 Panthers podcast. Wonderful. Susan Deans, is that first, we thank you for it. And second, don't feel obligated to do it because you're a part of the family already. But we do appreciate the support so much. And to those people, I believe James Stone became a contributor on Patreon. Thank you to you as well. But really, the support is us talking about Panthers football together. And so thank you, Susan, but thank you all who are in the chat room. Wonderful. When I was thinking about this, though, Cody, when I was thinking about the Aaron Rodgers stuff, is that, first of all, I believe that Aaron Rodgers, and I had believed, is that this is outside of, am I saying I want him over Cam Newton? No. But I was ready to say that for a long time that Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback in the league. I've been ready to say that. He has struggled with injury at times.
Yeah.
But I ultimately think it comes down to this, is that winning is, you know what makes you a jerk or not? And it's the same for Cam Newton or not. It's winning or losing. And the very fact that he has not been, that the Green Bay Packers have not been winning overall, whether it be injury, whether it be for their own demise, his jerkism has been exacerbated. So I just ultimately think this is that we're okay with jerks when we're winning.
You know, I know Josh from Mass is also a big fan of the Joe Rogan podcast. I watch the Joe Rogan podcast all the time. And one of the things that Joe says is that, you know, if you look at Michael Jordan, there are stories that Michael Jordan, if you lost in a ping pong match, or if he lost in a ping pong match, he would be pissed off. I mean, the dude is crazy about being competitive. And I think the people that are the very best in the world at what they do, they're a little bit crazy about shit like that, man. So it doesn't necessarily bother me when I hear someone like Aaron Rodgers who thinks that, you know, they've underachieved in his time being there and to have a head coach that limits them. Tom Brady is always yelling at coaches on the sideline. Maybe not Belichick, but yelling at what's his name? The dude that stiffed the Colts. I don't know, his name slips my mind right now. But yeah, this doesn't bother me. This doesn't tell me something about Aaron that I didn't already know, and it doesn't make me think of him any different.
People are making fun of the microphone in the chat room, saying it looks like a disco ball. Well, I tell you this, straight out of the 70s, man. Woo! Straight out of the 70s. Woo! Hey, if you don't know it, I might be pulling up some of those, cutting out some of those. Never mind, we're going to talk about it. You know what y'all did in the 70s.
Oh, Disco Inferno over here.
Yeah, y'all mugs didn't sleep in the 70s. Y'all didn't sleep, and it won't Ritalin. Them mugs.
Some of that Colombia's finest.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly right. If this was the 70s, we'd be getting down like that. Now people in the 2000s just like worry about their health and don't smoke cigarettes. What a boring ass generation we are. Or they are. I'm actually over 30 days quitting smoking cigarettes. Yes. And I didn't smoke a lot, bro. I didn't smoke a ton, but man, it's like crazy hard. So don't do it. Just like don't get a disco ball for your microphone or do that Colombian yo. I
mean, or do whatever. It's your life.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Last thing I do want to come back. Actually, let's talk about it now, and we'll do the cat calls. And there's only one. Is that Antonio Brown? I saw a couple people talking junk. Wait. Josh from Mass says, thank God, shag carpet and disco. Holy, you know what? We got a shag rug in our living room. It was beautiful. It's ridiculously hard to keep clean. And my mom, who grew up in the 70s, goes, you need a shag rake. I was like, what the hell is that? They raked their carpets with a rake. That's how they got the shit out.
Could you imagine having the time to even do that?
It's just stupid. It's like this, is we would never do that today. is that on top of that, we would be like, you only got like the jujubes out of that bitch.
You know how many ticks and fleas and spiders there are?
Oh, gosh. Dirt, and dirt.
Hell no.
Okay.
Dude,
Josh, I ain't that much older than you. I was born in 1981, brother. All right. So I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to ask you just quickly. What do you think about this Antonio Brown? Antonio Brown talking shit to Juju Smith-Schuster on the internet. But what the hell? I think this is that for a long time, I've kind of tried to be reserved about these greedy ass players. You know what I'm saying? Like the diva players. Because I'm like, I don't play the game. I don't put my body on the line. If they want to put their money out there, you're playing with Ben Roethlisberger, blah, 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 blah. I didn't want to be too judgmental. But Antonio Brown is now a Raider. He's gotten a raise. He's gotten all this. And he is an amazing player. But he seems a little petty, talking shit to Juju Smith-Schuster and calling out that he fumbled in his rookie year. All this, what do you think about Antonio Brown? To me, I think he is lost. I think he's losing it, man. I think he's becoming like kind of like a Michael Jackson person where their circumstances have fucked them up so much.
Well, let me say this, and I've already kind of said it. I am not a fan of Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
So when I hear Antonio Brown say, yeah, he's an asshole. He has an ownership mentality. He runs around like he owns the place. He was saying, I just won't throw you the damn football. How about that? You know, for the most part, I've been on Antonio Brown's side.
Right. That's how I felt.
I didn't want him in Carolina because I didn't want to pay him almost Cam Newton
$20 million. Yeah, $20 million a year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny how oblivious, how bad he looks. I mean, he's making fun of a player that looked up to him, that reached out to him when he was in college. And I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster comes out looking awesome. And
doesn't it turns into, he's like my man, the TJ Barnes wearing the Stanley Steamer shirt. Yeah, that's how cool he looks.
He's an awesome kid, man. He has his own YouTube channel. He's fun, making jokes. He's just an awesome dude. If you don't like Juju Smith-Schuster, there's a problem with you, okay? He's an awesome dude. And Antonio Brown had moved on. He's no longer in Pittsburgh. They paid him all the money in the world to be a wide receiver for Derek Carr, of all people. Okay, good luck with that. Yeah, I just don't know what he gets from all this.
For me, what's weird, Cody, is that, like you said, is that you've been on Antonio Brown's side. I feel the same way with Le'Veon too. Like, I have not been ready to demonize any of these guys. I also have not been overly negative about Roethlisberger, but have been hearing it, right? So I've been hearing those things. And been kind of pro Le'Veon, pro Antonio. But what I would say is that these actions by Antonio Brown discredit the criticism against Ben Roethlisberger a bit.
No, not at all.
I do believe that. Is that like right now, I thought that I had been thinking that Roethlisberger's a jerk. But how is it that you just continue to say Roethlisberger's a jerk when all the other dudes are also jerks? Well, yeah, I'm not saying he's not a jerk, but I just don't hate. My angst is not at Roethlisberger more now than it was 3 weeks ago.
Here's my deal. If you're the quarterback, you're the de facto leader of the football team. And if everyone in the locker room is assholes, it doesn't mean you're going to pass for being an asshole that's on par with everyone else's level of assholishness. Part of my beef with Ben is He's always been on talented football teams. He's never had to be the entire offense like Cam Newton has had to do, like Aaron Rodgers has had to do. He's never had to do that. He's been in a bunch of trouble off the field, yet people brush that under the rug. He is always, even before Antonio Brown, man, he has always thrown players under the bus. Always. He's done it to other receivers before. He's done it to the defense. He's done it to coaches. He's not responsible for who he is as a person. And in my opinion, he's kind of overrated.
But the behavior of Antonio Brown now, and I would even say arguably Le'Veon, continues to suggest that even while that may be true, it's not as bad as we thought.
I don't see how you derive that
because Antonio Brown is a giant dick. He's a fucking nutcase at this point, talking smack to Juju about a fumble he had, a player he played with, like you said. Is that what I'm saying is this? Is that, okay, Ben Roethlisberger is a jerk, but so the hell is Antonio Brown. I didn't think that 2 weeks ago. I thought Antonio Brown was disgruntled. Kind of my point. Now he is a giant asshole.
The fact that you didn't think so, 2 weeks ago, is kind of my point, though. We've heard shit about Ben Roethlisberger for a long time now. Before this, you never heard anyone come out and say that Antonio Brown.
Yes, we did. I thought, man, he was live streaming. We tried to continue to write it off as like it wasn't that big of a deal. I think I have lost a ton. Yeah, I'm a liberal kind of dude where it's like I'm gonna fight for you to the end, type guy. And right now, I'm just like this, is that I'm glad that Antonio Brown didn't even wear a Panthers jersey, no matter what the fuck it took to get it. That's how I feel.
We avoided the circus that is Antonio Brown. I'm not into the diva mentality. I just, I'm not giving Roethlisberger a pass just because Antonio Brown is a diva. That's all I'm saying. But Antonio Brown is definitely fucked up for acting like a jerk.
A total dickhead. Awesome. He's weird as, and I'm gonna go into lesson learned to the kids out there is that it all has to come down to when you dye your facial hair blonde.
Yeah, your mustache. Of all things.
Cam Newton dyed that little goatee blonde and it all went to shit. Come on, folks. Don't do it. It leads to everything wrong in the world. All right. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. But we do this because we're just fans hanging out with you guys, and we truly want to hear what you have to say, what you guys believe. And we do that in the cat calls each and every week. You can call into the show every week, anytime, 24/7. The number is 252-228-5098. And let your voice be heard. That's 252-228-5098. Let's jump into these calls, Cody.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hi guys, it's been a couple of weeks, Rich in London. Okay, stay hat. Yeah, okay, maybe someone who needs some fuel could take them all and burn them, because I think that's probably what they're best for. It's horrendous. What colour is that? It doesn't even look like a normal colour. And then with the just absolute PR disaster.
Oh, the draft hat.
That person summarily dismissed.
Anyway,
moving on. Draft frenzy. Got mock drafts coming out of our ears. I've done a few. Can I just say that there's lots of Panthers fans out there with some truly terrible takes at the moment as well. I think I'm becoming a draft aficionado. But anyway, can we get off the Montez Sweat in the first round thing? Although I don't think he'll be there for us.
There's another one.
I'd hate to say it, the experts definitely don't think he's quite as good as people seem to think that running fast was. And there's probably better people suited for us. Darnell Savage, safety, that's the name that's floating around, which could get as far as us in the second round. Still all about Jonah Williams and Brian Burns in the first. I don't think Burns is going to make it to us now, though. But it sounds like they're making a really big effort to get personnel in for 3-4. You guys would have probably spoken about this tonight. Alan Bailey, oh my God, did you see the pictures I tweeted up? The guy's enormous. But would be fantastic. And in that as well, I know Cody's not a huge fan, but I think Zach Allen, Boston College, first pick of the third round, or it may be our second, might be quite useful as our edge stroke 3-4, 4-3 player. Talk about him, Cody. I know you're not a massive fan, but in terms of that versatility, also, I don't know, can Cleveland Farrell do it? I don't know, but anyway, possibilities opening up all over the place. I mean, we just have to sit tight. But I just seen someone trading up to 8 to get Montez Sweat, which is the most insane thing that I think I've ever seen. Anyway, no, trade back, get more picks. There's so many in the top 50 that would make us better. So fingers
trading
crossed.
back.
Who knows?
Would be amazing.
They were the Alabama guy today, who's been injured a lot, edge rusher. The name finally escapes me. But it's looking good. Anyway, between now and then, the Hornets might have done something, so fingers crossed for Charlotte and get the excitement of the playoffs as well. All right, guys, keep pounding. Cheers.
Look at that. What a wonderful call. Thank you, Rich Kingston in the UK. Can't wait to hear his thoughts when it comes to the scheduling challenges that we're going to be addressing that we talked in early in the show. Cody, you heard the call there. What are your reactions?
So, he mentioned Zach Allen. He is the defensive end out of Boston College. We've drafted a pretty good player from Boston College. I don't have to name him. But, Zach Allen is a player that, again, I'm not too high on for a guy that weighs 285 pounds. I wanted him to be more dominant than he was. I don't think that he's a great bender. I don't even think that he's that powerful for a guy that size. He did generate a lot of pressures, though, and pressures do mess up the quarterback. So, he mentioned the third round. If it's one of our third-round picks, I'm fine with that. I don't mind that at all.
Cody, one of the things that stood out to me about that call, we continue to talk about the transition to the 3-4 defense. When we started hearing these rumors originally, we thought that it was going to be just a kind of what Ron Rivera said is we're just trying to evolve. We're just trying to change, right? Keep up. But then you go and get Bruce Irvin. You look at some of the personnel. You're looking at Dontari Poe. You're looking at what Vernon Butler may be able to do. I just wonder now. I mean, I feel like now, and when you give that call there, is that we went from being very suspicious about the change to a 3-4 defense to now I feel like the coaching staff wants to do that. How big of a change? I'm concerned, Cody, that Ron Rivera can't do it. And I don't know if I won't say can't do it, but it's just such a big, it's crazy to think. I don't know. I just don't see it very often where you go from one defensive scheme to another.
Yeah, I mean, another thing to remember is that in San Diego, Ron Rivera had a pretty good defense, and he was the defensive coordinator of a 3-4 defensive front. So
Right.
it's not
He's
that
got experience.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to draft players that that are able to do this. Okay, how many weeks do we have until the draft? It's on the 26th.
3.
So how many more shows do we have before our draft show?
You said it's when?
The 26th.
All right, so today is the 9th. The 26th, we have 2 shows left. That's it.
We have 2 shows left. Okay, so then this is what we'll do. And I'll just go ahead and I think we should just say who we'll preview next Tuesday, because it leads into what I'm going to say, and it also pertains to the 3-4 defense. If we're going to draft an edge rusher at 16, the best player for us to draft who is versatile enough to do all the things that we want to do is who Panthers guy at FSU just mentioned, Brian Burns. And that's another player who is between him and Dillard. If I had to bet my money right now who the Panthers would draft, it would be those 2 dudes, Andre Dillard and Brian Burns. Brian Burns can rush the passer. I wrote about him on Draft Tech. If you've been following my Draft Tech, you've already heard me write this, but he has the ability to rush the passer from a wide 9 outside linebacker position and from a 5 technique position right over the offensive tackle. He has the ability to do it all. He doesn't have the weight on him that you would love to see from a player that plays end, but he has the position versatility enough and the production to warrant the pick at 16. And I feel that us moving to having more 3-4 fronts, it makes Burns a lot more favorable to us than almost any other defensive end in the draft. So, you are right though that this 3-4 move is shaping up to really control everything that we do in the draft and how we are going to be in 2019.
I'll be interested to see in how this defense commits to it, because while everybody points to Ron Rivera having experience with it in San Diego going back, is that right now Eric Washington is the defensive coordinator, and that is bizarre, right? Because it's like I'm the defense. It's kind of like saying I'm the man of the house, but my mama still helps me. And Ron Rivera being the guy here. Ken D says Ken D says, I think the 3-4 isn't evolving, but it's an actual change. He's saying it's more like changing our scheme to fit like who we've wound up having. And if they can do that, that would be phenomenal, right? Is that if you could build a defense and a scheme to what you have rather than what you want. The question is that like, can they do it? Because we've seen a coaching staff that's been so reluctant to try young guys to do things differently. And the idea of what is evolution in Ron Rivera's mind?
Cutting the crust off of a PB&J.
That's right. You said it, not me. All right, next call. Let's see what we got.
What's up, guys? Nice to see you guys back doing your thing. I know the draft is like super, super boring, especially it's like to wait on. So as soon as it hits, oh man, it's hype. But I just wanted to know from what your standpoint or from what your views are, do you believe that we should go offensive tackle first and then defensive end? Because this defensive end class is stacked. But there's like everybody saying that we should go offensive tackle, Jonah Williams, defensive end, get somebody lower tier like Polite or something. But there's some people that say, no, get defensive end first and then go safety. My real concern with that is just the future of the franchise, because we know we just got Eric Reed and defensive ends as well. We just got, I think it was Bruce Irvin. Where do you guys believe the most value holds for us in the longevity of our franchise? The secondary or in the defensive front? Thank you guys. Keep up the good work. You guys are awesome.
All right, thank you very much for that call, Cody. I'm gonna turn this to you as a longevity question here, and that is ultimately when you get down there, who cares what's happened before you, but what could make the largest long-term difference for a guy that's available there? My initial instinct is this: offensive lineman can be a guy that if you get a guy that you truly believe, now I don't know if you can do this at 16, that can be a left tackle. You've said this over and over. You get a decade player. I feel like there's so many more question marks when it comes to defensive ends. That's been my initial response, but at the same time, so many locked defensive ends have been, locked offensive linemen have been just total busts in the last 3 or 4 drafts.
Yeah, but I kind of feel you can say that about a lot of different players, about a lot of different positions, and I feel like people kind of cherry pick. Oh, this position's been overdrafted, and da da da. Look, I'll be the devil's advocate to both sides. So if you want to talk about longevity, if we have a healthy Cam Newton, then we have the ability to go as far as we want to. I think that it's easier to generate pressure using blitzes and stunts on defense than it is to generate a competent offensive line that can give your quarterback enough time to deliver the football on third down without him having to make magic all the time. So there's that, right? On the other side of that, I feel on day one, the better pass rushers, if they're available at 16, you might want to take them then, because around the second round, the drop-off from the tier 1 talent to the tier 2 talent is a little bit steeper in the defensive ends than it is the offensive tackles. So right now, I can name maybe 3 or 4 different players at offensive tackle that I would love to have in the second round. Caleb McGarry out of Washington, Yannick Kajus out of West Virginia. These players might be around in the second round that I believe would be a day 1 starter for us. So maybe it does behoove us to take that more dominant pass rusher at 16 as opposed to a left tackle.
I think, man, I tell you this, is all I can remember is Joey and Godspeed to Joe getting better. Joe Riolano, that freaking Puerto Rican. We love you. We miss you, brother.
Sure.
I remember in 2012 when we picked Luke Kuechly in the first round, and the Dallas Cowboys traded up to get Maurice Claiborne. And Joe was a huge Claiborne fan, and I, because Joe was subsequently a giant Claiborne fan. And then the Panthers go and draft a damn linebacker with all these giant needs. And we had Thomas Davis. We had, at that time, we had John Beeson. So who knows what the hell Marty Herney's going to do. But trust in Marty Herney, folks, is my man has had more good than less. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Joe's in the chat. Look at that. Joe Riolano in the chat. I didn't even know he's here.
Joey!
Hey, that freaking Puerto Rican. We miss you, brother. I hope you're feeling better soon. But is that I remember being like, Joe was like, I want Claiborne. And yeah, and Ken D, yes, Claiborne was one that made, it wasn't a 3, it was a 16 or something. It was one of the lowest scores in the history of the world in the Wonderlic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was pretty terrible. Yeah, he went to Dallas. But
he was
ultimately, I'm just saying this, is that Herney I heard he's pretty good at the draft. A and B, who knows? Like we could be singing offensive, defensive lineman. My man all of a sudden picks DK Metcalf.
I mean, yeah, look, and at some point we need to go over that because I think we're all just resigned to defensive end or offensive tackle. Take your pick.
Yeah, there's like zero other. I tell you this: if we pick a damn tight end, I don't believe in picking a tight end in the first round. I just don't believe it. I don't think you should. I'm sorry. Is that we look at some of the guys in the past. And I'm not saying the Panthers do that, but that's the one pick right there I would go.
If you had the
opportunity,
to draft Gronk in the first round,
nope.
And you knew that
no,
he would be
no,
you wouldn't do it.
No.
Why?
Because I think you should be able to get a defensive player or somebody that make more of a difference there. Is that I look at this is what's that dude for Tampa right now who's awesome? OJ Howard. He's amazing. He's a top 10 pick, but at the end of the day, he can only affect the game so much. I just feel like this is that like I think you need to get a Gronk in the second round. I don't believe.
I'm on your side.
I'm just gonna be pissed as fuck if we pick. I mean how about this? If we pick the tight end at 16, we would all lose our shit.
All right, can I throw you a few names and you tell me if you had it cold? Right,
tell me. Make sure you tell their position too, because I don't keep up with any of this shit.
Yeah, and to the degree that you know who they are. Greer Williams, cornerback out of LSU.
Yeah, I think that's too high right now.
Too high?
Yeah.
He's the best press man corner in the draft and runs a 4.37.
That's cool. That's fine, but we don't play a system where corners.
I think we're moving to it a little more than we had.
Okay.
All right, but I'm asking you. That's your question.
I'm going to say no just because of the position alone. But yeah, all right.
All right, DK Metcalf. If you knew that Metcalf was going to be a Calvin Johnson type player for the next 10, 15 years.
I'll say yes. At 16, yes. Because 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, those guys are going at number 8. If he slips past the top 10, that's a hard no, right?
A hard no?
Like, I mean, I'm saying it's hard. It's hard to say no. It's hard to say no, right? Like when you're sitting there at 16 and you've got a guy who could be an offensive tackle or could be a guard or potentially this giant, beautiful motherfucker that can run fast and catch everything.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you go, hey, maybe we can get an equivalent player of a Dillard or someone close in the second round. So, yeah, I'm going to say this with Metcalf is that if you believe he's different, forever changing player, if you believe he's more than those 40 numbers, I would not lose my shit.
I mean,
I would lose my shit if we picked a tight end, dude.
I don't know. See, you don't know a lot about TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant.
You'd be okay with them if we picked them in the first fucking round?
But that's all right. That's not because they're tight ends, though.
No, just tell me this. If you picked either one of those guys in the first round, would you be like, all right, let's go back to this, to the first Panthers, the C3 Panthers live draft party. The first one we ever did was Kelvin Benjamin was drafted at 25, I believe.
Oh, sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
No, I fucking lost it, dude. In a bad way. I was so pissed. First of all, I was hammered drunk at this point because it was like 27 picks or whatever. It was so late. But I drank a ton of beer. But I was super upset that we picked Kelvin Benjamin. And it had nothing to do with what I thought Kelvin Benjamin was, but I thought Kelvin Benjamin would have been there in the second round. I also thought this is that we should have gotten Bradley Roby at that point. That was the guy that I wanted. I went berserko saying we should not have gotten Kelvin Benjamin. He goes on to have 1,000 yards receiving, and so many people sent me messages, Cody, saying, "Oh, what do you guys say about that now? What do you guys say about that now?" Ultimately, though, is that's how I would feel if the Panthers picked. I don't care who they picked at tight end. They would have to be the most transcendent tight end in the history of football for me to be okay with it.
I guarantee you this, TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant are both going to be better players than Bionic Whoopi Goldberg ever was.
Okay, but that might be fine because I think that was bad. He should have been a second-round pick.
I mean, I would be upset too, but that's only because we have other positions of need that are more important. And we're talking defensive line and offensive line.
If you passed on one of the guys that we have previewed to get one of those tight ends, wouldn't you fucking go crazy?
I would be upset.
Okay, yes. So let's end that conversation.
I'm just saying, there might be good players, though.
Okay, all right. I think we got one more cat call. Here it goes.
All right.
Hey, gang. I just wanted to let y'all know you play to win the game.
Was that a Bernie Sanders impersonation?
No, it wasn't Bernie Sanders. It was the guy that coaches the Arizona. Now it's a former coach of the New York Jets.
Oh, what's his name?
It's not
Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. He also doesn't know that he coaches the Arizona Sun Devils. And he doesn't like devils. He's like, don't talk about devils around me.
Yeah, what a team to go to.
All right. That's the seat. Look, we've done it all. I think we've talked about everything. We've got one last thing to do, and that is to ice some mugs up. All right. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. It's brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com every Tuesday night. This big old disco ball sack in front of my face, as Josh Mass says. Right? We're here chopping it up to you each and every week. This week, we're going to, actually, every week, we ice some mugs up. And what we do in the ice up segment is tell somebody to ice up. It's our homage to Steve Smith. Toughen up, to get it together, get your shit right. Everybody is fair game. So let's jump into this right now. I'm going to let Cody go first. Go ahead, son. I got your pick up. You're ready.
All right, man. So this was a story, and I know that Lynn knows about this too. I saw her commenting on this. And so Torrey Smith, who again, Tony and I have had disagreements with. I don't believe that he's worth the $5 million that we're
and
paying.
I do.
Okay, so but you know,
this is my ice up pick, bitch. Get the fuck out of here.
I defend people when they deserve to be defended. And TMZ is trying to make Torrey Smith out to be like one of these assholes that goes to Africa and poses lions and giraffes and shit completely without context. And even Torrey Smith took onus with this on Twitter. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you're a farmer, wild hogs are like the plague.
A menace.
They will ruin your farm. They will murder your animals. They'll eat your animals. And they run wild. I mean, they have sex all the time. They're overpopulating. I mean, they generally are a menace. So a lot of these people go and they hunt the wild hogs. And Torrey Smith even he made a bunch of food for his family and friends. It looked delicious, right? But everyone wanted to call him
undelicious because they're terrible. All right, but go ahead.
I bet you they tasted pretty damn good. But
gamey.
Hey man, don't knock it till you try it. You ever had deer meat?
I have. You gotta cook it right. You gotta age it. But go ahead. Sorry, I should not have interrupted your cat.
But to everyone that was pissed off at this, and even TMZ for kind of posting this without the context. Oh, Torrey Smith poses dead hogs. I mean, it was an absolute problem that Torrey Smith was helping to solve. So
he's helping to solve this bitch.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. So for TMZ to try and throw my man under the bus for doing the right thing and paint him as some kind of poacher or something, ice up, man. That's bullshit. Know your facts.
I was thinking you're gonna ice him up for taking a knee. hey, he's in a knee there. God damn, you can't give him a break. I like this. I came back and he said, I'm from the country, Mugs. We hunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you're damn right. We're from the country too. We're from North Carolina. That's where I'm from. All right, my ice up pick goes to this. Is there have been a ton of people in the running. There's so much to ice up in the world. I mean, I could ice up my own children tonight, as I like to do. But I'm icing up this. Whoever in the world decided to, and also, it's like the best and the worst of the internet at one time. They have photoshopped Donald Trump's face onto Queen Elizabeth. And they've done a good job. So it truly is like, it doesn't look photoshopped a lot. It is Donald Trump's face on Queen Elizabeth pictures, going back to black and white pictures. It's amazing. So to you, the internet, I say ice up to toughen up, but to keep up. And not that I'm trying to say make fun of Donald Trump and this person, but the internet remains undefeated.
Undefeated.
As one person told me, the internet remains undefeated. Funny. I've got so many things in my life that I want to be mad about, but this one just made me giggle. Ice up. All right. My name's Tony Dunn. This is the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can be a part of the show. I want to, you know what? I want to ice up too Ken D. This jerk ass playing Words with Friends with me, and he's like dropping 50 some point words, and he puts like Zis, X-I-S. First of all, you asshole, that's barely that's barely a word. It's a Greek. I looked it up. It's a Greek letter. Jerk. 57 points or some shit like that for a fake word that you can't build off of. He continues to do it over and over. So to you, you get an extra ice up. But all right. My name's Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can be a part of the show by calling in anytime, 24/7, into the Cat Calls line and leaving a message. The number is 252-228-5098. Cody, how can they find you on Twitter?
They can find me on Twitter at CodyLax, CODYLAC. There is a brand new mock draft on drafttech.com, first and second round comments coming out tomorrow. And Tony, if you don't mind, I kind of want to start to hype this up a little bit early, man. Draft night is going to be lit.
Please.
I am so excited, and I want to let all of you know, man. Legacy, Underground West, all of you. I want us all to hang out on draft night. No, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do Shindig. It might be better to do Hangouts if we're gonna have more than 4 people on at a time. But if you're interested and want to come and hang out with us on draft night during our live show, and you want to be in there with us, message me and Tony and let us know, and we will be sure to send you the link to the hangout or whatever we end up doing. We want to have a party on draft night, hang out with all the C3 family. We know that we love you all. You make the show run. And I will be ecstatic on draft night. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you all join us, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, we're done tonight. Josh from Mask rushing at the end. Hashtag fake words. And second, Josh, you're not going to be the only one who's drunk as hell on draft night. That's what I do every year. I drink beer the whole time, so by pick 28, I'm blacked out. All right, it's the C3 Panthers podcast. We'll check you out next Tuesday night, and keep pounding.
Peace.
All right, I pressed. It's over, son. It's over. We can't stop talking even when there's nothing to talk about. I can't stop talking. Actually, I should say I can't stop talking.
Hey, man, I can't stop talking either, man. That's how it is. It's a hangout, man. We're all just fucking chilling, talking about Panthers bullshit. They love it, man. They love it.
I had so much fun with you hanging out, brother. You're my best. Like, dude. You're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this with me, man.
Dude, I love doing it, man. I love doing this. I look forward to Tuesday nights, man.
I know it's weird to ask, but did you get that money I sent you on PayPal ever?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right, cool.
I appreciate it, man. You don't have to do that.
No, it's just like, I mean, this is it. That's all there is. It's just whatever Susan gives us, right?
Yeah.
All right. Dude, thanks a ton for your insight, and keep it up, and let me know if you need help with anything, dude.
Yeah, man. No, but what I was saying at the end there, like I want to do it big on draft night, man.
What we need to do is what I've learned from draft night is this: the best thing to do, and we've done it. This might be our 6th or 7th time doing it, is to keep people cycling. So what we really need to do is start lining up guests and what we got to do is just this, is that we've got a couple of guests we've had in the past that I can count on, I think. But right after, what we need to do is basically have you and me and 2 other people, and cycle people, because if it gets more than 6, it's like too much to handle. So let's do this, is let's target some people. Let's target 2 people in the first 10 picks, 2 people in the second, and picks 11 through 18.
Years past, where we have maybe someone like an analyst for one of the teams or whatever.
Let's always do that, and then we'll bring in fans too. So what we'll basically do is you and I are guaranteed we'll try to bring in an analyst forever that team. It could be just a podcaster, and then the 4th and the 5th people be fans and cycle.
So do you think Hangouts would be better instead of Shindig? Because I feel Hangouts, with the limit of 4, I feel Hangouts promotes more people and more of a camaraderie type thing. Whereas if me and you were drinking and chilling or whatever, people raising their hands and having to micromanage who's in the chat, who's needs.
Well, I think you're right about this, about Hangouts, is, you know what, the one thing that Shindig is great about is about playing video and shit. But we're not going to have a ton of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're all just chilling. Like, we're not really even prepare and shit like a normal show.
So what we'll do is we'll do a Hangouts, and I'll do it through OBS.
Okay.
Like this.
Yeah.
But what we need to do is figure out what teams. We need 2 teams in the top 10.
Well, Harrison, the dude that you and I interviewed for Tampa, they're at 5, so that's try and get him for the top 10.
All right, I can always get a San Francisco guy. Peter Panassi always comes on.
Oh, well, then let's do him. They have the second pick. So
we'll do him, then we'll do... so this is... Why don't you do me a favor?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Is start a document that outlines what we want to do that night.
All right. Yeah, perfect, man. I'm down with that.
And then outline, basically, let's just grab this, is we want to try to get 2 guests per 10 picks at the minimum.
Okay.
So picks 1 through 9, we get 2 guests. Picks 10 through 19, we get 2 guests. Picks 20 through whatever, we get 2 guests. And then we can get more than that. But let's start with that number.
All right. Yeah, that's fine with me, man. And
so just make a draft of who you think would be good timing teams, and then we'll make the rest happen.
Okay. 2 more things, and I'll let you go. We reaching out to Mel, or is that kind of up in the air? Or
well, I'll let Joe do that. I'm not reaching out to Mel.
All right.
And the reason I'm saying this is I'm not adverse to having him on the show. But I got a little salty feelings in this. Is that like you can't even say fucking hello?
Yeah, we don't have to.
No, I mean, but I'll let Joe. I mean, I'm not gonna be upset about it, but no, I'm not.
Well, and then also being realistic to people in the chat, like, oh Mel, where you been?
Yeah. No, I said my vote is no. My vote is no.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. And the last thing is at a certain point after the Panthers pick, I might go silent for like a few minutes.
Yeah, because you got to write.
Yeah, Warren at Draft Tech is telling me that within 30 minutes of the pick, I have to have something prepared. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna write up a bunch of potential picks beforehand. And just fucking copy paste my shit.
Well, we'll have a ton too. So like, is that if you pound it out by the time you're back, we'll be good. So you know what, you do what you got to do, brother, and we got it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna write up some shit anyway.
Okay.
To prepared. So.
All right.
Yeah, brother. All right, man. That's it, dude.
All right, man. Dude, thank you so much, dude. You're the man.
Yeah, man. No problem. I'm here whenever, man.
All right, let's do it. Come up, hear about this. This is the other thing I want you to do, is bring your talents and your thoughts to how do we expand the podcast? And that is, how do we do some small things? I think what would be great is interviews, short 15-minute interviews about a subject with a person, you and I, like where we just pre-recorded it and we post. What I would like to do is this, ultimately, is what I'm saying, but I cannot just come up with all the ideas by myself because I'm getting burned. Yeah, sure. I'm always burned out with just life and all this. But is that I would love, as we get closer to the season or in the season, to have our hour-long, 2-hour, 7-hour podcast, whatever we have. But if we could drop a 15-minute interview with someone together or something like that. Think about what can we do to build off of what we already got. So you just think about that on your own.
And dude, I'm so close to the stadium, man. So look, I always make this joke. I have a built-in cripple pass. I get shit because I'm in a wheelchair that other people wouldn't get. Dude, I'm so close to the stadium. I'm willing to bet that I could go and say, hey man, I have a podcast or whatever. I'm trying to see if there's someone that I could interview or whatever. And they'll just fucking have sympathy for me. Like, okay, well, let me see who I can talk to.
Well, we could get you press credentials that way.
Yeah, shit.
But let's think about this. Let's start thinking about what are some things, if you were a listener to this podcast, that could add to your experience other than just duplicating the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, could we do a 15-minute preview show of teams coming up that week? Could we do, you know what I'm saying? Like something... Whatever, just here, this. I just want you to continue. Look, you've brought so much to the show. Just continue to bring it. I'm open to hearing what you think would be a good direction. That's all I'm saying.
Awesome, man. Without a doubt. And I'll jump on Brian Burns a lot sooner. We'll do Brian Burns
next week. All right, let's do it. And is he FSU?
Yeah, Florida State defensive end.
All right, we'll find a guest too.
All right, cool, man.
All right, man. Great night, dude. Great show. Thank you very much.
Yep. Peace, brother. Have a good night.
Later.